Justin, thanks so much for joining us. What are some of the more serious concerns Amnesty has with what has happened over the past year near Standing Rock?
Well, Amnesty International sent an observer delegation to Standing Rock really to monitor the policing of protests and ensure that police aren't violating protesters' rights to freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. And specifically, we've looked at, for instance, use of force and how the police are engaging with those protests. And those have really been what our main concerns have been around the protests that have been happening over the past year.
Now, Amnesty is calling these human rights violations and calling on the Governor and Attorney General of North Dakota to take action. What would you like to see done?
Well, really, we want some investigations into some of the specific cases that we outlined and really reviewing some of the charges that have been leveled against some of the different protesters. We've noted that some of the courts have dropped many of the charges against a good portion of the protesters already. And so we're calling on them to review the charges that have continued to be placed against certain individuals, but also to look at specific cases that were documented both by Amnesty International as well as some of the local media with regards to the use of force in those specific instances.
You know, Amnesty is known for its work internationally, looking into cases and incidents. Is this something that comes as a surprise to Amnesty happening, right on American soil?
No, this has been something that's been ongoing for a number of years now, not only in North Dakota, but also, for instance, looking back in terms of the protests in Ferguson uprising to almost more than 2.5 years ago now, and really looking at how police are engaging with protest groups and the policing of peaceful protests, and to ensure that police are facilitating the right to freedom of assembly and freedom of association, and specifically protecting people's rights to freedom of expression.
A lot of people have spoken out about the militarization of police in the United States and even here in Canada recently. Is this these types of incidents something that you think we'll be seeing more of in the coming future?
Yeah, so after Ferguson, what we had been seeing is that the federal government had started to, keep better track in terms of some of the military equipment that it was leasing out through the programs for police departments. And now what we're seeing is basically under the Trump administration with his more recent executive orders around policing, that basically it's going to be a free-for-all in terms of, what we were seeing prior to those changes by the Obama administration. And so really what we're seeing is oftentimes with peaceful protests, police are showing up in riot gear. They're often using military-grade equipment in terms of, long-range acoustical devices and tear gas, as well as other forms of use of force in terms of concussion grenades and those types of devices. And so we've really been calling on their heavily restricted use, specifically when it comes to peaceful protests. Obviously, if there is any kind of violence that does take place, police need to be able to isolate those specific individuals so that they don't infringe on other people's rights to engage in freedom of expression.
Justin, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.